Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Vrajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Vrajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parikacharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parikacharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 15th day of July 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We're in Canto 7, The Science of God, Chapter 10, Prahlad, the best among exalted devotees. Text number 3. Bhritya Lakshana Jigyasur Bhaktam Kameshu Achodiyat Bhavan Sangsara Bijeshu Vidya Grantishu Prabho Bhritya Lakshana Jigyasur Bhaktam Kameshvachodiyat Bhavan Sangsara Bijeshu Vidya Grantishu Prabho Bhritya Lakshana Jigyasur Bhaktam Kameshvachodiyat Bhavan Sangsara Bijeshu Vidya Grantishu Prabho Bhritya Lakshana Jigyasur Bhaktam Kameshvachodiyat Bhavan Sangsara Bijeshu Vidya Grantishu Prabho Bhritya Lakshana Jigyasur Bhaktam Kameshvachodiyat Bhavan Sangsara Bijeshu Vidya Grantishu Prabho Bhritya Lakshana Jigyasur Bhaktam Kameshvachodiyat Bhavan Sangsara Bijeshu Vidya Grantishu Prabho Bhritya Lakshana Jigyasu Bhaktam Kameshvachodiyat Bhavan Sangsara Bijeshu Vidya Grantishu Prabho. Maharaj? No? Bhritya Lakshana Jigyasu Bhaktam Kameshvachodiyat Bhavan Sangsara Bijeshu Vidya Grantishu Prabho. Bhritya Lakshana Jigyasu Bhaktam Kameshvachodiyat Bhavan Sangsara Bijeshu Vidya Grantishu Prabho. Anyone online?
Bhritya Lakshana Jigyasu
Bhritya Lakshana Jigyasu
Bhaktam Kameshvachodayat
Bhaktam Kameshvachodiyat
Bhavan Samsara Bijeshu
Bhavan Sangsara Bijeshu
Hridaya Grantishu Prabho.
Vidya Grantishu Prabho. Avrila, did you get a chance? Bhritya Lakshana Jigyasu Bhaktam Kamesha Chodayat Bhavan Sangsara Bijeshu Vidya Grantishu Prabho. Kunda, you can do it. Bhritya Lakshana Jigyasu the Kameshva Chodayat Bhavan Sangsara Bijeshu Vidya Grantishu Prabho. Okay, word by words. Bhritya Lakshana Jigyasu, desiring to exhibit the symptoms of a pure devotee. Bhaktam, the devotee. Kameshu, in the material world, where lusty desires predominate. Achodayat, has sent. That should be have sent, because it's all right. Bhavan, your lordship. Sangsara Bijeshu, the root cause of being present in this material world. Vidya Grantishu, which desire for material enjoyment is in the cores of the hearts of all conditioned souls. Prabho, O my worshipable Lord. Prahlad Maharaj is praying to Lord Nrsingadev. O my worshipable Lord, because the seed of lusty desires, which is the root cause of material existence, is within the core of everyone's heart, you have sent me to this material world to exhibit the symptoms of a pure devotee. Follow me. O my worshipable Lord, because the seed of lusty desires, which is the root cause of material existence, is within the core of everyone's heart. You have sent me to this material world to exhibit the symptoms of a pure devotee. Purport of Srila Prabhupada. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu has given considerable discussion about Nitya Siddha and Sadhana Siddha devotees. Nitya Siddha devotees come from Vaikuntha to this material world to teach, by their personal example, how to become a devotee. The living entities in this material world can take lessons from such Nitya Siddha devotees and thus become inclined to return home back to Godhead. A Nitya Siddha devotee comes from Vaikuntha upon the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and shows by his example how to become a pure devotee. Anyabhilashita shunyam. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Okay. In spite of coming to this material world, the Nitya Siddha devotee is never attracted by the allurements of material enjoyment. A perfect example is Prahlad Maharaj, who was a Nitya Siddha, a Mahabhagavat devotee. Although Prahlad was born in the family of Hiranyakashipu, an atheist, he, Prahlad, was never attached to any kind of materialistic enjoyment. Desiring to exhibit the symptoms of a pure devotee, the Lord tried to induce Prahlad Maharaj to take material benedictions, but Prahlad Maharaj did not accept them. On the contrary, by his personal example, he showed the symptoms of a pure devotee. In other words, the Lord himself has no desire to send his pure devotee to this material world, nor does a devotee have any material purpose in coming. When the Lord himself appears as an incarnation within this material world, he is not allured by the material atmosphere, and he has nothing to do with material activity. Yet by his example, he teaches the common man how to become a devotee. Similarly, a devotee who comes here in accordance with the order of the Supreme Lord shows by his personal behavior how to become a pure devotee. A pure devotee, therefore, is a practical example for all living entities, including Lord Brahmā. Om jnana timirandasya gyanandana shalakaya chakshur unmilitam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So this is a fascinating passage, as they all are here, in the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj. And he's taking alternately the position of a pure devotee who doesn't want anything material, obviously, and someone who is praying to the Lord, please, please, don't let any material desires come into my heart. But when he prays like that, he's showing us how to pray. It's like there's songs in Narottam Thakur, they sing, forever I've been in this material world and I'm beset by so many material desires, please pull me out of it, like that. So this is instructive. Even Lord Chaitanya is doing the same thing in his Shikshastika. What is this? Nam Nam Akari Bahudanya Sarva Shaktis. This is a verse where he says, you have so many different names, Krishna, Govinda, and Keshava too, your names have been then, and each of them you have invested your potencies, leaving none out. Whenever we want, we can chant them without the slightest restriction of time or of place, but I am so wretched, devoid of all shame, that I haven't have a taste for their name. So obviously that's not Lord Chaitanya speaking as Lord Chaitanya. He's giving us an example of how we should pray. And the same thing with the next prayer. This is how we should, it's anyabilashita shunyam. It's very important that the Bhakti Samrita Sindhu, practically at the very beginning of the book, it gives us the definition of what we're meant to strive for. And it has nothing to do with praying to God to please give me this, please give me that, please save me from this. Even liberation is considered a material desire. And yet, there are so many explanations and pastimes in the Bhagavatam in which devotees have been saved from birth and death. Jamil, right? He was saved, got a second chance. That was the title of the book, Second Chance. Because he was fortunate enough, wise enough to name I guess if he named all his children, at least the last one, Narayan. And so he called out to Narayan for a whole different reason. But because he didn't call out for any material purpose, he wasn't, it was pure, it was without an offense. It wasn't pure, but it was without an offense. And therefore he was saved from going to hell. But he had a lot more work to do. It's not that he was all done. Then when he got a reprieve, then he took sannyas, went to Bhadravika Ashram or somewhere, right, and practiced more austerities. And then he came, and the same Vishnu Dutas came back in the same airplane and took him to Vaikuntha, because he was pure there. So Prahlad is pleading with Lord Nrsingadev, who this is kind of a setup. Nrsingadev knows what he's going to do, but he's offered him any material benediction that you want. And Prahlad said, please don't tempt me, my Lord. I was born into this family of demons who are characterized by unlimited material desires, and so I'm prone to that, so don't tempt. But basically he's taking the role of a pure devotee and showing us how to pray. And in a few verses, text 7, he gives us a perfect prayer that we can also utter to the Lord, although he doesn't really need it, but he's saying it as an example. Yadi dasasi me kaman varang tvang varadarshaba kamanam vidyasamroham bhavadastu varam. O my Lord, best of the givers of benediction, if you at all want to bestow a desirable benediction upon me, then I pray from your Lordship that within the core of my heart there be no material desires. So he's praying that his heart is free of material desires. But he's teaching us how to pray. Because the tendency is, as we see in anyone who claims to be religious around us, is that you go to God, save me from this, please give me some money, I can pay the rent, and my child is sick, whatever, maybe a million different things. All praying for material desires. And this is one of the reasons why religion is really on the wane in America. Because young people growing up, they don't see the point of it. Because they see that, they're praying, but the suffering is going on. This is my brother. I told him, he actually visited here once. And I tried to, give him Krishna. He had beads. He said, all right, I'll try it. But he was trying it, with the idea, well, it didn't do anything for me, like one round. But he told me once that one of the reasons why he cannot believe in God, and this is this common theme in Prabhupada's preaching, the Holocaust. The Holocaust. Where the 6 million Jews were rounded up and killed and murdered, it's horrible, horrible. So we were born in Jewish families, so it puts a strain. If you think that we're religious, we go to synagogue every week, and look what happened to us. Why? There can't be a God. So it's a common fallacy to think that God is there as our order supplier, and then if we pray enough, that it is. Well, what about your whole history of sins in the background? This is what they don't know, right? But it's very controversial, because not only you have the Holocaust, but you have all these innocent children dying today. Is going on with this thing in Gaza. It's horrible. So that puts us, when people have a conception of God as the order supplier, they haven't really moved past arto jigyasa or artarti, is that paying for money, and the artarti is more in the category of Juva. Juva is an example of artarti. You can say he's poverty-stricken. That wasn't the reason, but he desired the material kingdom greater than his grandfather's. So, but his desire was transformed. This is the whole point. And just like in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna says Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Dosha Darshanam, does anyone recognize what chapter is that from? 13. There's a list there of elements of knowledge from text 8 through 11, I believe it is. And about 20 of them. And what's the first one? Amanidvam, humility. Humility is the first thing, because you have to approach a spiritual master, a preceptor. And if he senses some pride and challenging, then he's not going to open up his heart. He's not going to instruct you with any meaningful thing. But if you express in the right way, tadvidi pranipatena, head on pranipashnena sevaya, that's in the 4th chapter, how to approach. First thing is surrender. Like Arjuna, he's showing the way. Sanatana Goswami, we have perfect examples in our literature. Both of them were extremely qualified materially. Arjuna was this great fighter, he had so many qualifications. And he had some knowledge too. Krishna put him in such a situation that he then offered the material argument why he shouldn't fight. Look, if I fight, first of all, I kill my dear grandfather figure. Bhishma Deva took the role. He can't be a grandfather because he never married, but he took the role of grandfather for the Pandavas. He loved them tremendously. And he's on the other side. And also his guru, Dronacharya, who he took so much knowledge from, revered. He's on the other side. How they got on the other side, of course, is in the Sabha, the gathering where they tried to disrobe Draupadi, So they, because they didn't speak up at that time, they didn't want to cross Duryodhana because they were dependent on him. So that's, therefore, it's right they're on the other side. There's a reason. But still, Arjuna had so much love for them, So he didn't want to kill them. Plus, all these men will be killed. What will happen to the women? They'll get, Bhivarna Shankara. They won't be protected, and I'll be responsible. I'll go to hell, and so will everyone else. And heck with it. I don't care about the kingdom. But that wasn't the reason he should have been wanting to fight. The reason he should fight is because Krishna wanted it. Because Krishna had a plan. And as Krishna explained to him, nobody's dying. That's at the beginning. Najayate meyate bhakadarshan. And because I'm on the battlefield, they'll go back to Godhead or get very exalted births. So it's a win-win. In other words, Dharma will be reinstated on the earth. That's Krishna's basic desire. In the person of Yudhishthira and his brothers like that. And anyone who also dies here, they'll be benefited. They're not going to go to hell because I'm here and I'm purifying the whole thing. So at the end, by your mercy, my illusion has been dissipated. And hopefully our illusion has been dissipated by that. That's near the end of the Bhagavad Gita, if you read it through. So the thing that's so fascinating here is that, because it's also in Prabhupada's preaching in the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam to some degree, and that is, one should understand that just a hedonistic life is suicidal. In the 5th canto, besides the hellish chapters, which is a warning, there's also this the forest of material enjoyment chapter. You remember that? Where Bharat is preaching to Rahugana, King Rahugana. And he's explaining how this material world is just, it's a forest of enjoyment, but it's just a way in which you're going to suffer like anything. You get married, do this, hoping to be happy, but by the force of time, everything is broken away, the relationships, are broken, and eventually you get old, and everything you have is related to the body, but the body's about to die. In other words, it's a very self-defeating proposition to become absorbed in material desires and trying to enjoy in this material world. It's just, it never happens. It never succeeds. And you end up, especially in an age like Kali Yuga, performing so many sins, and so much suffering comes from it. So it's like, it reminds me, because it's the same phenomenon, the drugs today. They're not today, in my whole adult life, they've been there, whether it's, relatively so-called harmless drugs of marijuana, or the more harmful ones of alcohol, tobacco, and then you got so many others, fentanyl, they mix it in, they don't care about you, some poor kid dies of overdoses. It's still a crisis in America. So what's behind all that? Behind all that is the frustration of trying to enjoy and not being able to enjoy enough. Well, let me try this drug. You associate with someone who gives you that, and you get a buzz from it. Well, that's pretty good. I remember I had a great blessing, because when I grew up, I was a complete atheist, But so when I got to be of age, we started drinking a little bit, beers, I drank some beer and got, boozy and everything. But I had such a constitution that if I drank a little bit, I got sick. I would always get sick, which is a great blessing. Then, the heck with alcohol, But also somehow I made my way through, and I didn't get too much involved in heavy drugs, which included LSD, and then amphetamines and all this self-destructive. And I remember I used to live on Grand Avenue down here, and myself and Gangeya would walk to the temple through the alley often. You just go down the alley right there. And there was a house between where we lived and the temple. And it was rumored it had been a crack house, The guys, they were selling crack out of there, This was before we got there. By that time, it was cleaned up. But there was still one guy living there who had I guess he wasn't, he was a victim of the crack. And the poor guy, he was a young guy, we'd see him someday. They had this special thing from the government facility that would come. It was a van, but it had a little thing that would come out so that someone, in a wheelchair could just roll in there and he'd get in on there, and then he'd go to the facility and something. And here was this young guy who'd been disabled by crack, by too much cocaine, and his whole life was ruined. Just get disabled. It's crazy. We had one guy who came here. I don't know, Balaram. You may remember him. Forget his name now. And he met a devotee. This is quite a series. I would go to Alatra every year, 2 or 3 times a year. And there was a devotee there. He's still there, Adi Karta. He's he's a book distributor from England, settled there in Alatra. He has a farm with cows and everything. But he would go out whenever he could and distribute books, So he had a couple of sons, and one of them, who grew up in the Gurukul, he got into drinking, believe it or not. So it was a problem. But I was there, and he liked me, so he sent him here so he could get my association. Big deal. But anyway, he came here, and then he needed AA, So they found up on one of these big churches up here runs a major AA program. Alcohol Anonymous. So he brought down a fellow who was somewhat interested. And this guy was in AA, but he also had a cocaine problem, and so he liked my classes, but he couldn't sit through them. You know, he got nervous. You remember, what was his name? Don or Daniel? Jamie. He would sit, and then he'd have to get up and walk around and then eventually he got to be in trouble. We'd be offering our obeisances, and he would be doing these nervous things, and eventually it was just too much. And I remember the last, we had this one big guy here, I forget who was staying here, I forget his names. But I was staying at the Prema Dwani, and he was making some fuss, and I said, you got to get him out of here. And they dragged him out. They actually literally dragged him out the door. But the poor guy, he ruined his life, you know. Got into, and it messes your brain up. Messes your brain up. Huh? No, that wasn't the devotee's son. He just brought this other fellow down here. And he was curious, but he couldn't, you know, keep quiet. He was all nervous and everything, so finally we had to get him out of here. Anyway, so what, the reason I bring it up is that these addiction to alcohol or tobacco, which is very common, or some of these other harder drugs, is a metaphor, is an example of material life in general. Even if you don't get addicted to drugs or anything, you become addicted. There's really a grunty, the knots in the heart. I always remember Prabhupada, he gave this class on a verse in the fourth canto, the teachings of the Kumaras to Maharaj Prithu. And near the end of the teachings, he chants this verse, and Prabhupada kept chanting the first line, relishing it like anything. Padapanga yat padapanga de palasha valasa bhaktya karmashayan gratitam ungatiyanti santa. Tadvan riktamatayo yatayopi ruddha sroto ganasthamananam bhajavasudevam. The last words are bhajavasudevam. That bhaja is imperative, therefore you should worship Vasudeva. So the beginning of the verse goes like that. Padapanga de palasha valasa bhaktya. The bhakti of the devotees, relishing and serving the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. Pada pankaja. Pada pankaja means mud. That which is born in the mud is the lotus. So one of the names for lotus is pankaja. And pada is feet. Pada pankaja, palasha. That's the petals of the lotus of the feet. That's the toes, you see. So the devotees, they're getting so much pleasure from serving the toes of the lotus feet. And Prabhupada kept chanting that first line, and I could hear him relishing that, serving the lotus feet. Vilasa vilasa bhaktya. What's the result? Karmashayam. Now karmashayam is the ardent desire for fruit of activity. That asha. We do that so many times, the asha. Don't we sing asha in the Tulsi Puja? My desire is to serve Radha and Krishna, right? So it's a very strong longing, really, a serious desire. So karmashayam, those who are immersed in material life, their hearts are filled with unlimited desires and longings for material pleasure. And often just the flip side of it, so much longing to get rid of this material misery, which came from your indulgence in material pleasure, right? Practically every class it comes up again, this verse, one of my favorite verses from Bhagavad Gita. Yehi sangsparjaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evade. Ajantavantang koteya nateshu ramate buddha. Now I have to confess, those who are upset, there's a slightly revised translation, and it goes like this: those who are intelligent, the intelligent, do not take part in the pleasures that are due to the contact of the senses with their objects. O son of Kunti, such pleasures are the sources of all misery, and they have a beginning and an end, and so the wise do not delight in them. So we don't want to give up pleasure. This is an important part. This is the difference between us and the Mayavadis. No more pleasure, no more body, you know. Simply the great relief, no more birth and death. I'm in the Brahma Jyoti. I'm all set, you know. For how long? To become so boring. He said, all right, let me go down and start a hospital, right, Prophet? You can't stay there. If I asked about Abhishuddha Buddhi, I probably quote this verse all the time. That besides the devotees, there are others who are impure in intelligence, and therefore they don't worship you, but personally, but through severe austerities, kritrena. You can hear it in the Sanskrit, it's onomatopoeia. Aruha kritrena parang padam. They rise up to the transcendental platform, Brahman. But then, patantyado, they fall down again. because they're averse to serving your lotus feet. So real transcendental life, real yoga takes that into account. And we're not going to be, as Prahlad Maharaj says famously in a previous verse, mukti kama. Mukti kama, it's a kind of material desire, just wanting my liberation, the heck with everyone else. Isn't it? He says these munis, prayena deva muniyos svava mukti kama, maunam chadandi bhajanena parartanishta. In silence. The munis means they're supposed to be silent a lot. It comes from maunam, right? But a real muni is someone who doesn't speak nonsense. He's silent with prajalpa. So he says, for the most part, they just wander around with vijane, where there's no people. And not napararta nishta. Every word is so significant. No, not determined to help anyone else. Para arta means to help others get something valuable. Most valuable thing, prema bhakti. So Prahlad says, I'm not like that. Naitan vihaya kripanan. I can't give up these fools and rascals who are trying to enjoy maya sukhaya, which he explains in the previous verse. Naitan vihaya kripanan vimamuksha ego, simply wanting my liberation alone. Nanyam tvadatsi shadanam brahmato anupashe. For those wandering in this world, I don't see any other shelter but you, my Lord. And I'm your representative. I'm your medium who's going to give them you and really save them. This is the preacher's, meditation. And Prabhupada discovered for us, it means don't prematurely retire to Vrindavan just to chant and try to enjoy Krishna consciousness. You won't be able to do it, and it's not in Lord Chaitanya's line. But in another context, Prabhupada said, I've struggled so hard to build these wonderful places in Vrindavan and Mayapur, so that in your old age, when you can't travel and preach, then you can retire and be here, And factually, because of the internet and because of travel, you can still preach there. Burijan's been there for years, and he's doing wonderful preaching, writing books and whatever, And now he inherited some money. He built this Govardhan Retreat Center. It's fabulous. Maybe I'll actually travel again, go there. But anyway, so there's a place for that, but not when we can be agents of Lord Chaitanya's mission and Prabhupada's mission in our line. So Prahlad Maharaj, but this whole purport is about how you sent me here to give the example of a pure devotee, and that's the Nitya Siddha. We understand our great acharyas, they're not coming here to work off some karma or anything. They're sent here. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, like that. In order to be, this word acharya is so important. Acharya. Acharya has certain qualifications. Acharya is someone who knows the Shastra absolutely exhaustively, who follows the instructions of the tenets of the Shastra perfectly, and who takes the trouble to teach and to give to others. That's the acharya. And it comes from the word achara, which means behavior, the actual action. So that's what Prabhupada really wanted us to become, examples, exemplary. And even in our, we're not perfect yet, but striving to that, toward purity, and even without purity, you can still help others by giving them the association of the pure devotee. This is what book distribution means. The most important association is Vani, the words, and they are the words of Srila Prabhupada, or his sincere followers quoting his ideas. But like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, of course, all these. This is the greatest blessing you can give. And Krishna says, Nata tasma manushesha kashame priyakritama. Those who are teaching this to others, those who are giving it to others, are most dear to me. Because he's seeing, you're making a sacrifice. You're not running off to Vrindavan, you're not just doing your bhajan, which is of course very nice, but much nicer is to do your bhajan and also give others a chance. And so Prabhupada struggled so hard. He showed by his example how he sacrificed his life, his comfort, just staying, managing this society at the same time writing and traveling is just superhuman. It's incredible. But he showed the example of sacrifice for saving others, for helping others become Krishna conscious. And that's why he stressed book production, book distribution, because it's constantly bringing new people in, you know, and enlightening them in the best way possible. So it's almost 8:30. Anyone have any comments or questions on what we've gone through so far? I caught you unawares, huh? Oh, Maharaj had something. Make sure he has a mic. Take the mic back. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you for the nice class, Prabhu. I hear that that in the Sandarbhas, Srila Jiva Goswami said that those who go to the Brahma Yoti, they don't fall back. Because there is no more karma. They burned all the karma. So without karma. And that verse that, you know, is quoted, Arya Krichena Parampadam Tata, refers to Mayavadis who are still in the material world. And Prabhupada give the example, they fall back in the sense they go to open hospitals or schools and to material pious activities. Because their intelligence is not pure enough. But somebody who actually go to the Brahma Yoti, he has to have a little tinge of bhakti also in his practice to be able to reach.
All right, I didn't realize that because it says Param Padam. So what is this Param Padam that they reach? Param Padam. Anyway,
well,
that's
I mean,
interesting.
generally speaking, Prabhupada mentioned when they fall down means they go to open hospital. I read it in many parts.
Yeah, sure.
And so it means they're still in the material world. It's not necessarily talking about somebody who's in the Brahma Jyoti itself.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. I'm going to look into that because I always thought that, you know, they get up there somehow.
Yeah. And I hear even, you can, you know, tell me if it is true or not, that even there is a possibility that somebody from Brahma Jyoti can go to Vaikuntha even. There is a exceptional chance.
Why would that happen? What would be the reason why someone would go from Brahma Jyoti to Vaikuntha?
Well, I'm just saying I heard about it. I'm not confirming it. I'm asking, you know, your opinion.
We need to
Do Maharaj have any opinion about that? Have you heard anything? Ashram Maharaj?
Well, I've sometimes found it confounding. Because attaining the Brahma Jyoti...
I like that. Found it confounding. I'm going to use that.
Okay, I'll take credit for that. Because on the one hand, you hear, you know, attaining the Brahma Jyoti, that's liberation. But then we do hear Srila Prabhupada saying many times that, so there's some category of Mayavadins, and it may be that they still reside in the material world, or there's still some tinge of itcha, some tinge of desire in their heart, and then they have to come down. Because Srila Prabhupada often refers to that with reference to that yin. I mean, they imagine themselves to be liberated. I haven't quite sorted. There's a number of things I haven't quite sorted out yet that are a little confusing. That's one of them.
Well, I don't know if you both sannyasis here have the Bhagavatam that was prepared by Devotee Swami with Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary, and in the 10th canto, Jivas and Sanatans in addition. You know, and so I'm going to go check out this verse and see what they say.
And very nicely, Maharaj said that they imagine they are liberated. They are not actually liberated.
No, that's what Prabhupada emphasizes.
But if somebody really liberated, you know, his Brahma body, you know, he could go to the Brahman and doesn't have to fall down from there.
All right.
But it's not advisable to go there for sure. I'm sure Prabhupada said that to discourage any impersonalistic tendency we may still have.
I still like that other one. Kaivalyam Narakayate.
Yeah, right.
That's enough for me. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, just one comment is, the attraction of getting free from birth, old age, disease, and death is oftentimes an impetus to begin devotional service. You know, I mean, it's an impetus to start, you know, getting, and if you're fortunate, you know, and then you chant Hare Krishna, And after some time, that desire gets replaced by your desire to serve the Lord eternally. And then you graduate to the fourth verse of the Shikshastika. Nadanang nadanang janmani janmani shure. That's a very high platform. Go ahead, Maharaj.
One comment. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I don't want liberation because he's already liberated. Once you get something, you have no more interest in it, But those who are not liberated is good. They have the desire. And liberated for devotee means to be free from material desire and only have desire to serve Krishna. That's our real liberation.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, it's my. She's standing by the door. Mukti's standing by the door, and Bill Monk says, "I'm waiting to serve you." So it's not our main motivation. It's not a motivation. The motivation should be matured into pure love for Krishna, and that's why so many prayers you find in the writings of Rupa Goswami and the others. Not praying for mukti. They're praying for pure devotion to Krishna. Please let me always serve your lotus feet. Hare Krishna. Go ahead, Chad.
Hare Krishna. I have a question for you. Do you know any good poems?
Oh, a poem. Let's see, like an English poem? Okay. I'm trying to think of one that may dovetail with the theme of the class. So so many verses that are just praying for pure devotion. So this one comes to mind. This goes. Let's see. Well, what comes to Kunti's prayers is one of my favorite because it's very pertinent to this. And she says, "Swayame ananya vishaya mati madhupate sakrit ratamudvahatara dhagange bhaugamadhanvadi." O Krishna, kindly ever fill my mind with thoughts of thee, not any other kind. As Ganges torrent flows into the sea, let all my love flow constantly to thee. So there's no tinge of desiring liberation there. She just wants to fill her mind with Krishna's thought. And the wonderful thing about, because I had some exposure to the writings of Rupa Goswami and the Stavamala and these other things, is that many of them are just filled with beautiful ways of remembering Krishna, glorifying his pastimes, And here's a prayer, special because every word begins with M. Mataresha madhudi mayamada bamunadi mattalika mugdha mama manana mohandamadama dehimanaso maha maha moham. O Master of Mathura, lovely Lord of Goddess Shri, who play such maddening melodies upon your mulali, O Cupid's charmer, please redeem a life till now misspent by joyfully destroying my extreme bewilderment. So these are the kind of prayers we should offer. Go ahead, Sankrishan Prabhu.
I just had a question about the translation. I was wondering if you could explain
the translation of today's verse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the Lord is the seed of lusty desires.
Because O my worshipful Lord, because the seed of lusty desires, which is the root cause of material existence, is within the core of everyone's heart. So you're wondering, how is that true? How does that work? Yeah, because right. Because, O my worshipful Lord, because the seed of lusty desires, which is the root cause of material existence, is within the core of everyone's heart, you have sent me to this material world to exhibit the symptoms of a pure devotee. Okay. So the idea is that the desire for material desire, lusty desires, it's in the core of the heart because it is a corruption of our original love for Krishna by exposure to the modes of nature. So you see the thing? It's the same desire that's been corrupted, as probably as a perverted reflection. So without the original, you wouldn't have the reflection. So our original love for Krishna, if we turn toward the material world and we become affected by the modes, that will be then our ardent material desires. It's the same. You see what I'm saying? That's the idea. Is that every living entity has that propensity, has that. That's why we're marginal. You know, some never come down. Most never, go that route. But we're the silly, minority which tried it, and now we're struggling to get back. So that's why it's the root. It's in everyone's heart. Well, I see. Yes, Maharaj.
I had Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comment.
Oh, great.
on that point.
Yeah, he has one.
So in his commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur addresses it. He says, Shayashritim bhakti mudasyate vibhuklishanti. Without bhakti, the goals of jnana become like mirages, but eventually they fall down. If they have some type of bhakti, then how do they fall down? They fall because they have no respect for your lotus feet, adantrata yushmarangraya, thinking that they're material, that the lotus feet are material. There are two types of bhakti practices and anga of jnana. And he goes on and he says, these people who are there, he says, they cannot be called jivan mukta. According to the Lord's statement, bhaktiyaham ekaya grahya, I am attained solely by devotion. Because of not attaining the direct association of the Lord, due to the absence of bhakti and because of the presence of offense, the burned up seeds of karma again begin to sprout and they fall into the material world. An example of this is given in the Vishnu Bhakti Chandodaya concerning Rath Yatra, and it goes on. But I think Vishwanath explains elsewhere, I just lost my thought. Oh, he explains elsewhere when he's talking about the unique position of bhakti, jnana and yoga can burn up some of the kuta and bija stages of papa, but only he explains that only bhakti has the power to destroy prarabdha karma. So there seem to be some seeds left not yet completely destroyed by the jnana and yoga, and if there's some offense in the background, some real aversion to bhakti, then perhaps that's why they have to fall down.
Yeah, that there's two statements in the verse itself: avishuddha buddhya and I forget the Sanskrit, but averse to serving your lotus feet. And I think that's the key why they can't stay there or go direct to Vaikuntha. Their intelligence is not purified of all material desires. There's still something there. They may not be acting on it, but it's still in there. So that dooms them to eventually come back down.
Jiva Goswami also confirms this in his commentary. I don't read the whole thing, but it's there.
So don't try to go in the Mayavad route. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class and this nice discussion. I have a question. If we, today we discuss and we see the last statement that even only bhakti destroy these desires.
Desire, you burn them at the root.
Yeah. And jnana, vairagya is only change but not destroy. But if we can see our position, mostly we do not bhakti but jnana or vairagya. Why?
We're doing more. You think you're doing more jnana than bhakti?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
For everyone, question, not only for you.
Jnana related to bhakti is bhakti. I mean, to know about Krishna, Sambandha Jnana is part of bhakti.
If you spend all your time, the Mayavad is just contemplating how you're different from, the jiva soul is ultimately different from matter and all this. But there's no Krishna, there's no Bhakti, there's no activity. You know, the Lord Chaitanya cut through all that. He said, don't worry, wherever you're coming from, just join the kirtan. Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, you know. And you'll be doing bhakti, and you'll be purifying the heart. That's the whole idea, so that the natural desires become desires for serving Krishna. It's practical for this age, and it's actually, I love this verse. Several of the sannyasis may know it. And it's shortly after Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishna in the 11th canto. Kaling Sabhajayantyaya Gunagya Sarabhaginaha Yatcha Sankirtanam Chaiva Sarvasvarto Abhilabhyate. Sarvasvarta, the real arta of the soul, not to get liberation. It says that those who are really wise, they worship this Kali Yuga, not any other, this one. Because Lord Chaitanya appeared. Kaling Sabhajayan Arya Gunagya, they understand the quality of the thing. Sarabhagina, get to the essence. Why? Yatra Sankirtananaiva Sarvasvarta Abhilabhyate. That all your actual ardent desires of the soul can be realized by practice of genuine Sankirtan in association of devotees. Because that burns the seed of material desire. There's no more, it purifies the desire. And so you become, attracted to Krishna. And that's why, as you like to point out, we should have more Harinam. I don't mean Harinam just on the street, I mean just... Huh? Indra. Yeah. Yeah. All right, listen, we have to adjourn. It's already 1:15, and I have a lot of stuff going on. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.